All right, good evening, everybody. We've given it the requisite 5 minutes to let folks join in. So we're going to get started, and if more people join, that's fine. Jaylee, can you give me just a thumbs up so I make sure that can you hear me? Okay, thanks. All right, so welcome everybody to our first virtual post-COVID public Compstat. Especially the residents that are tuning in. It's been a while with COVID and everything, and this is certainly not the most ideal way to run an interaction with the community, but it's going to have to do for now, at least until we can get more people vaccinated and start to get back to business as usual. I just want to welcome a couple of special guests from the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Assistant U.S. Attorney Karen Peck and Christopher McKee from the U.S. Attorney's Office as well, from the Department of Justice. So they're going to have an opportunity to chime in and talk about some of our partnerships and how we work with the U.S. Attorney's Office. But I just wanted to welcome them as well. This is our first time with a Zoom meeting like this large and in a public forum. So I just ask if everybody bears with us, and in case I shouldn't say in case there's technology issues, but when there are technology issues, I'm sure that will happen. We will work quickly to try to fix it. So just a brief kind of opening remarks. 2020, as everyone has said, was a difficult year, a challenging year for law enforcement, not only here in Hartford or here in the state of Connecticut, but across the entire country. From COVID, as I mentioned, to the tragedy with George Floyd, resulting in a police accountability bill here in Connecticut, to our street racers, our pop-up parties, our fireworks in March, which hopefully we will not see again, increase in shootings, again, not just here, but across the country, statewide, a massive increase in larcenies, in auto thefts, and property crime in general. I just want to say that I couldn't be more proud of the way the women and men of the Hartford Police Department responded to those issues in a difficult climate. They really stepped up and did some remarkable work in 2020 and into 2021 in some conditions that I've never seen before: global pandemic, public scrutiny, and just really did a great job. While we have numbers that are coming out of 2020 that we would certainly need to improve on, and everyone's goal here is to improve on them, we definitely I will say that we did a better job here of containing some of those those crime issues than a lot of other places. Some folks saw double-digit increases and doubling of shootings and homicides, and it was through the efforts of the people on this call and the folks that work for them that we did not see, luckily, some of those really incredible numbers that other places across the country did see. So even with snow on the ground and a winter upon us, we still continue to see some of these issues. But I can say that between the folks here at HPD and our partners, two of which are represented here on the public Compstat, but our partners in the FBI and the DEA and the state's attorney's office, parole, probation. It's really been a team effort. We've forged some great partnerships, some new ones with a new state's attorney coming in, and some existing ones that we've strengthened through dealing with these difficult times and trying to come up with ways to figure out how to keep the community safe altogether. And I think tonight's Compstat, you'll start to see that it is making a difference. The numbers so far this year are looking good. Never satisfied, we'll always strive to improve, but we're definitely headed in the right direction. Being cognizant of time and wanting to get into the numbers and exactly what the police department is doing and how crime looks out there, I'll cut it there. But just a matter of housekeeping. Questions can be submitted in the Q&A section, and we will answer the questions at the end of the presentation. So if folks have any questions, they can go ahead and submit them through that Q&A block. With that said, Officer Lawler, if you want to put up, if you have the citywide stats, if you want to put those up quick. I might have thrown you there. Well, there's our first technology glitch, which we hopefully we got the first one out of the way and we'll be able to move past it. But the overall Part 1 crime citywide to date in our first month and a half or so into the new year is down 16.8%. That translates into 111 less Part 1 crimes in the first month and a half or so of the year. So that is a good place to be. We're one of the most serious. Oh, there we go. One of the most serious issues that we saw last year was our shootings. We're looking at a 26% reduction in that year to date, which equates to 6 less shootings. Some of our property crime issues that I mentioned, auto theft to date, 28 less auto thefts are down 25.5%. 35 less larcenies, down 9.7%, and 17 less burglaries, down 29.8%. Overall, Part 1 crime, when we look at it being down 16% or 111 crimes, that's a significant number. But if you look back 3 years ago, we're down 34.2% for the first month and a half of the year from 3 years ago. That's 286 Part 1 crimes less this year than we were 3 years ago. And then 4 years ago, we're about 292 crimes less, or 34% down. The other significant thing that we trend is a 28-day period. Over a 28-day period, we compare this past 28-day period to the 28-day period before that. Our previous 28 days from this one, we're down 23.7%, or 84 Part 1 crimes. So as I said, we are definitely trending in the right direction. And now the next item up on the agenda will, actually not the next item up on the agenda, but the following one, what I'll have to do is Captain Powell will go into the individual sections of the city, and we'll really dive into those numbers a little bit more specifically. But prior to that, this is the first public Compstat since Assistant Chief Howell has come on board. So I just want to publicly, he's been out there in the community as much as he can. He's done a couple coffees with the chief virtually. He's jumped on a few of the Zoom meetings with me and met a bunch of people. But this being the first public Compstat, I just wanted to give him an opportunity to introduce himself quick and so people can see his face. So AC Howell, if you want to go ahead.
Thank you, Chief. Welcome everyone to Compstat, our public Compstat.
You're muted, Chief.
Now? How about now? You can hear me? Okay, great.
Oh, thank you.
Second technical difficulty. I would like to thank everyone for coming to the public Compstat this year. I'm new to the police department. I'm the newest member. I'm glad to be here. Just quickly about myself, I have 24 years of police experience. I retired from New Haven as a police lieutenant with 21 years and went up to Massachusetts and became a chief up there for about 3 years. And now I'm here, and I'm very proud to be here and thankful to serve such a wonderful department as the city of Hartford and its community. So Thank you, and I look forward to meeting all of you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Chief Howell. Unfortunately, second technology glitch, I couldn't hear him. I'm glad to see everybody else could. You'll have to tell me what he said later. For some reason, my computer doesn't want to tell me what he said. But so next up is Captain Powell, our North District Commander, to give an overview. Captain Powell is in charge of our North District, and Captain Laureano is in charge of our South District, but Captain Laureano is out right now, not at work. So Captain Powell is going to cover both North and South for us. So I will turn it over to you, and I hope that I can hear you.
Okay, good afternoon or good evening, everybody. I just want to point out that I'm not sure if the chief did that on purpose, but Howell and Powell sound very similar, and they put us back to back. So I thought that was kind of amusing. But I'm Captain Ian Powell, like the chief just spoke to. I'm overseeing the North Community Service Bureau. Just a brief highlight on what the Community Service Bureau's responsibility is. Our objectives are to engage with the community, build, maintain, and enhance our relationships. We have community service officers and supervisors who attend community meetings and different events throughout the city to discuss, public safety concerns and, listen to the community's concerns. And they act as liaisons to these community groups and the police department in the city to be problem solvers and, work to enhance the quality of life in these neighborhoods. We also have walk beats that are assigned throughout both the North and South District who assist in that process as well. The districts, North and South, the police department separates those into 4 separate districts: Northeast, Northwest, Southeast, and Southwest. And each of those districts falls under a lieutenant's responsibility to manage. Some of the things that our people address in the community, as the chief highlighted earlier, this past year in particular, were pop-up parties, late night street parties that impacted the community and large gatherings at businesses at that point that were impacting the quality of life in the neighborhoods. They worked to mitigate the tremendous increase in fireworks, handle various protests throughout the city with other divisions within the agency. They worked on addressing ongoing noise complaints. They cover COVID testing sites and vaccination sites, working long hours to reduce increases in violent crime. I mean, the list goes on. These people are here. They're dedicated. They're here every day in the community, trying to improve it. It is hard when all of our meetings are virtual, but hopefully at some point we'll be looking to get back to in-person gatherings. Hopefully once the summer comes around, we can start interacting a little more. With that, I'm going to move on to the Northwest District, Lieutenant O'Shea. Part of their responsibilities in the districts is to manage the Part 1 crimes that the chief mentioned before and come up with strategic ways to deal with crime trends. So I'm going to pass the torch on to Lieutenant O'Shea of the Northwest District.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? I'm Commander in Northwest District. My name is Lieutenant Rebecca O'Shea. I became Commander back in June, so this is a new position for me. And we have 3 CSOs assigned to our division. They do an excellent job. We participate in many of the NRZ meetings, as well as numerous community events. For this week, we only had 8 Part 1 crimes for Northwest. There were 0 homicides, 0 rapes, 0 robberies. We're actually down in that category from last year, 28.6%. We had 0 serious assaults. We did have 1 burglary. That was copper piping taken from a vacant building. As far as the burglaries, we're down actually 50% change from last year. Larcenies, we had 6 for the week. We are down 25.8% change from last year in larcenies. One was a shoplifting incident. There were no suspects in that. One incident involved valuables being taken from a vehicle. There were no suspects in that. And 3 incidents involved stolen license plates. And 2 incidents involved Cadillac converters being taken. There's no suspects in that. The Cadillac converters are something new that we're seeing a trend in. They are taking these Cadillac converters for the precious metals and bringing them to scrap yards and selling them off. This is not something that's just unique to Hartford. It's occurring all over the state. I would say in Hartford, we've actually seen less compared to other cities and towns. From what I'm seeing, auto thefts were down 30% from last year, and the one auto theft incident we had this week was actually domestic related, so there will be a warrant pending for that. Shooting incidents were down 50%, which is great. As far as our arrests for the week, or for the year, excuse me, we've made a total of 3 gun arrests. A lot of those were made by CSOs and members of the CSB unit. Just a couple weeks ago over on Townley Drive, they had a firearms arrest as well as a narcotics arrest and $3,500 seized. An excellent job by officers Dorsey, Spencer, and Psychowski. We also had numerous stolen vehicle arrests by the CSOs. Last week we had 2. Excellent job by them. I can't say enough about all the detectives, patrol officers, and the community services officers in the city. They do a phenomenal job and they help keep these numbers down. The auto theft unit has been out numerous times, conducted operations, keeping those numbers down for us. In combination with patrol and CSB, we're really making some headway in that area. I hope we continue to do that for the future. And that's all I have, Captain.
Thank you, Lieutenant O'Shea. We're going to move on to the Northeast District, Lieutenant Ruiz.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Lieutenant Louis Ruiz. I'm in charge of Northeast District. I have 4 CSLs and 4 walk beat officers. The walk beat officers cover Albany Avenue and Barber Street. They're always usually work Tuesday to Saturday in the evening hours. For the Northeast, statistically wise, we have we're down 100% sexual assaults. Robberies for the year are down 31.3%. Assaults are down 27.3%. Burglaries are down 71%. Auto thefts are down 3.6%, and larcenies, they've trickled up 8.8% for the year. They're up this year. When it comes to the Northeast, biggest trend right now is larcenies. Right now, like I said before, we're 8.8 majority up from last year. The majority of larcenies are car breaks, and we've asked our residents, the CSOs and walkers actually asked our residents not to leave any valuables in plain view in their vehicles. That seems to be the major issue. Residents leave TVs, phones, flat, and other electronics in plain view, and these suspects come over there, they break the windows, and they take the items. They're easy grabs for them. We've laid out flyers at businesses to educate the public to secure the car doors and raise windows, and also we've issued fake parking tickets to catch the owners of the vehicle's attention. If an officer sees like something in plain view, like a wallet open, he'll check off the box's wallet and put it on the vehicle's windshield to hopefully grab the owner's attention to bring in the valuables into the house, leaving in the car. That's one of the issues in the Northeast is larcenies. Another issue is stolen vehicles. Last year we had a huge spike in stolen vehicles. This year we're down a little bit, but the major issue with stolen vehicles are people are leaving them running when they visit the local business. Most of them are on Albany Avenue, Upper Main Street. They go out there, leave the car running. When they come back out, it's gone. It's an easy grab for auto theft suspect just to grab and take off with it. We started to spread the word to the residents not to leave their vehicles unattended while shopping, and also lock the doors and take the key fob with them as well. A lot of the guys take the cars by jumping in the car while the doors are unlocked, and the car still reads a fob with the owners in the store, and they push the go button and take off with it. So that's another thing. We're asking the residents not to leave the keys in the car, or you take the fob with them and lock the door behind them. As for arrests, the Upper Albany Walkbeat officer made a robbery arrest last week. Individuals trying to rob the gas station on Homestead and Woodland. Great job of the Walkbeat officer, patrol officer, happened to be right there in the perfect time to grab the guy. So nice arrest by the Walkbeat officers. And as well, the CSOs on Albany Avenue, Walkbeats always try to help out with quality of life violation on Albany Avenue. They've got numerous summonses and arrests for quality of life violations as well. So, and another thing the Upper Albany officers have been doing, investigating property damage. We've had quite a few property damage to the new light poles and benches that have been part of the Upper Albany revitalization zone. So they began to investigate cases and follow up on leads and issue offender summonses or make draft arrest warrants. And we got to thank the Upper Albany Association for helping us out with that as well. They've given us information in relation to the investigation. So it's been a great resource and a great partnership with them as well. So another thing that CSOs do is they're part of a food share program this past summer on Barber and Edgeworth Street. We plan to do the same thing this summer as well. So look out for, we're going to usually get our flyers out as well. So they'll be out there doing that. And we do have a community event this coming Saturday. The Know Thy Neighbor is sponsoring a free community PPE distribution and COVID testing for Hartford residents out of the Global Communication Academy this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Some of you might remember the old Global Communications, formerly known as the old Quirk Middle School. So feel free to go over and grab some PPE gear that Know Thy Neighbor is giving out. So that's a great program right there. We are going to have future community events this year, hopefully with bounce back with COVID. We'll be able to engage more of the community out there in the streets and the neighbors this coming summer, hopefully. And as a reminder, the Park and Memorial is currently doing vaccines at their facility. Just go over to attorneyhealthofone.org to sign up to see you're eligible. So just spread the word out to the people in the community in regards to that as well. So that is all I have for you guys right now.
All right, great. Thank you, Lieutenant Ruiz. We'll move on to the Southeast District, Lieutenant Reynolds.
Good evening, everyone. I assume you can hear me. All right. My name is Mike Reynolds. I'm in charge of the Southeast District. I'm currently a lieutenant. Southeast District, for everybody else that's listening out there, comprises of downtown, Berry Square, the South End, Sheldon and Charter Oak, and the South Meadows. This week, we had a total of 15 Part 1 crimes for the week with 2 Part 1 arrests. We'll go over Part 1 crimes. Overall, the Southeast District is down 12.6% year to date. We're down 15.7% over the previous 4 years, and we're down 7.7% over the previous 28 days. For homicides, we had none this week. Sexual assault, we had 1. We're down 75% overall. Robberies are down 25%. We had 1 this week. Assaults are down 18.5%. We had 6 this week. We'll cover some of those. Burglaries are down 9.5%. We had none this week. Larcenies are down 11%. We had 5 this week. Auto thefts are still trickling down. We had at 3.4%. We had 3 this week. Our shooting instances are overall down from last year, down 37.5% for that. The sexual assault patrol responded to Hartford Hospital. It was referred to SID, and I'll let Lieutenant Zarger field that one. I don't want to give out too much information. For aggravated assaults, we had 6. First one on Warner Street was domestic violence. It resulted in 2 arrests. 915 Main Street, we had victims struck by a BB gun. We have a suspect identified as a dark Infinity vehicle, was last seen north on Main. 464 Weathersfield, we had a home invasion. It was kicked in. The back door was kicked in. There was a shooting involved in that, and I'll let Major Crimes cover that one. The story got a little convoluted after that. Simple assault on Barker Street, another domestic violence on Mountford Street, and then we also had an assault on a police officer at the station, in which intoxicated suspect spit in an officer's face while in detention. Larcenies are down 11%. We had a rash of catalytic converters stolen. We did have 1 catalytic converter arrest. We arrested Tran Fong. of 30 Kent Street. He was charged with larceny and criminal mischief. They caught him trying to cut out catalytic converters with a Sawzall out of vehicles. This was his second arrest in the last 2 weeks. He was last arrested on the 10th for the same thing. I believe now he's still in custody. Auto thefts, again, like Lieutenant Ruiz said, majority of them are vehicles left running, either trying to warm them up with fobs in it. Good news, we responded to one shooting at 151 Meadow Street. The Pearl Club, they continue to operate as a nightclub despite the pandemic. CSO has issued a cease and desist order to that to shut that place down. Despite the shooting, there's still people in there partying. We also had a good arrest of a shot-off shotgun at the El Scarpa restaurant. So it was a good job by everyone now. That's all I have. Lieutenant Ruiz covered a lot of it. CSOs are out there meeting with the community and engaging them, trying to do the same things. Obviously, the pandemic is taken a hit with some of it, so a lot of it's virtual now. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Lieutenant Reynolds. And finally, from the districts, we'll move to Lieutenant Creeder from the Southwest District.
Thank you, Captain. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good evening. I'm Lieutenant Creeder, Southwest District Commander. Southwest District is made up of South Green, Frog Hollow, Parkville, Behind the Rocks, and the Southwest. Year to date, our Part 1 crimes are 167, which is down 22% from last year. We're down 78% in robberies, 8% in aggravated assaults, 12% in burglaries, 10% in larcenies, and over 60% in auto thefts. Crime patterns that we were seeing were burglaries specifically recently in the Frog Hollow and Behind the Rocks area. There is numerous burglaries that all fit the same MO, person breaking in. However, just this week, Community Service Officer Pino of the Frog Hollow District identified from a wanted flyer a suspect, brought him, he was arrested on a warrant, brought in, and major crimes detectives interviewed him. He's now confessed to 7 of the burglaries in the area. So that was a good job by Officer Pino. Larcenies are the driving force in my Part 1 crimes with 11 last week. Like I said, they're down 10%, but still that's my biggest item. And I too have experienced catalytic converter thefts in my area. CSO Hodzik from the Southwest District followed up on some of those. He obtained video evidence of one of the thefts that was actually a multiple theft where they returned multiple times. And we just put out a suspect flyer for a vehicle that we're looking for to identify the operator of that. Other than that, Southwest District officers responded to a person brandishing a firearm at Broad in New Britain last week. They located a suspect nearby. He appeared to be intoxicated. They attempted to take him into custody. There was a brief struggle, but he was found in possession of a firearm. He was a convicted felon and charged accordingly. And that's pretty much it. We've got, from last week, no victims of gunfire, and our shooting incidents for the year are down 14.3%.
Okay, thank you very much, LTs. If I can just quickly, I don't know if everybody can, if it's the video's on me or not, but I was just going to show something Lieutenant Ruiz highlighted when it came to the larcenies from vehicles. This was a citywide effort from the police department to put out the fake tickets he referred to. So if you do find one on these on your car, it's because the officer checked off a box, saw something in the car that shouldn't be there, and thought they should let you know that you may be at risk, and it may be a good time to try and take those items and conceal them in your trunk or take them out of the car. So other than that, that's all I have. I'll turn the mic back over to Chief Thody.
Thanks, Captain Powell. Just prior to, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. I just want to identify a couple of guests that are in our virtual audience that are partners of ours that help us throughout the year. Jeremy Stein, the Executive Director of Connecticut Against Gun Violence is with us, and Glendra Lewis, our project coordinator for Hartford Project Longevity, is also with us. So just wanted to acknowledge that they are here in the virtual audience, because I don't think that everyone can see that. So with that said, I will turn it over to Lieutenant Rodriguez Velez, our Career Development Commander, and she will go over some recruitment and PAL updates.
Thank you, Chief. Can everyone hear me? Okay, awesome. As the Chief said, I'm Lieutenant Marisol Rodriguez Velez, and I'm the Commander for Career Development. And under that, under my command falls obviously recruitment, retention, our cadet program, our PAL program, and our Explore program. I have a team of 4, 2 of which are sergeants and 2 officers. And I'll start off with the most recent graduates that we had this past December that are currently on FTO or on-the-job training. A total of 15 graduated from the academy, and the demographics are as follows. We had 10 males, and that breakdown is 8 white males and 2 black males. We have 5 females, 2 of which are white and 3 are Hispanic. And I'd like to point out that 2 of those recent graduates are cadets. Currently in the background process, we have a total of 72 candidates. And that breakdown is 57 males, 33 of which are white, 12 are black, 10 Hispanics, and 2 Asians. 15 are females, and that breakdown is 6 white females, 3 black, and 6 Hispanic females. Of the 72 that are currently in the background process, 4 are Hartford residents, 2 of which are cadets. And that particular breakdown for the Hartford residents is 1 black male, 1 Hispanic male, and 1 white male, along with 1 black female. Our current recruitment efforts, obviously, just like everyone else, is limited due to COVID, but we continue to have a strong presence in social media and all our social media outlets, specifically with Instagram, our Instagram page, and our live information sessions. We periodically do meet and greets with other sworn officers within the department. We are attending all community meetings and events that are being held virtually. I just want to share that we expect to have the next entry-level police officer application available this April. And the next application to hire approximately 6 cadets will be the end of March. That's all I have at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Next on the agenda, Captain Coates, who is our headquarters commander and special teams commander.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Captain Mike Coates. I oversee headquarters, which also includes our patrol division, traffic division, special events as well. I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Kevin O'Brien. He's our traffic commander. He's actually out right now, I believe, on Weathersfield Avenue on a DUI checkpoint. So go ahead, Kevin.
Thank you, Captain. My name is Lieutenant Kevin O'Brien. I'm the commander of the traffic division. We're currently out at 620 Weathersfield Avenue at our OUI checkpoint. I'll just do some stats as of February 20th, 2021. The department as a whole has made 1,251 traffic stops, with 833 coming from the traffic division. Included 547 infractions, with 85 of them 85% core moving violations, such as speeding, distracted driving, stop sign, control signal. So the department really focuses on those core moving violations for infractions, and our percentage is very low for infractions for equipment violations. Throughout the year, with COVID and the pandemic and other issues, we've been working with the districts to assist in the protest. We've helped the North District with the food shares, as well as the South District. We've also coordinated a lot of the vaccination and testing centers throughout the city with the City of Hartford Health and Human Services, as well as Charter Oak Health. since January 1st, 2021. The traffic division has staffed 6 testing centers, COVID testing centers, and 5 vaccination centers all around the city, to include Dunkin' Donuts Park, Weaver High School, 3580 Main, Goodwin Park. So a lot of these are mobile testing centers and vaccination centers in an attempt to, reach out to everyone in the city, whether they have rides or not, to have the opportunity to get tested or vaccinated. We've also coordinated in the districts cover Hartford Hospital, St. Francis, and the Convention Center. So as a whole, the department has done a great job assisting with COVID testing and vaccinations throughout the city of Hartford. We also help out the patrol division by responding to traffic accidents. So as of February 20th, we have 117. So that allows the patrol officers to be freed up for additional calls for service and not to be tied up on the traffic accidents. So we help out with that. We also respond to 311 complaints of traffic complaints. The NRZs make complaints to the CSOs and district lieutenants. So we assist helping out with those traffic complaints, as well as we're part of the Vision Zero project, which has goals of minimizing pedestrian and vehicular fatalities throughout the city through engineering, studying accidents. So that's kind of in its preliminary stages, but they are working on a Vision Zero project in the city of Hartford. And then real quick, Chief Doty asked if I wanted to show the DUI checkpoints. So just give me a second here. Switch it up. So currently we're at 620 Weathersfield Avenue. The officers right now are actually in a process over there of conducting a few field sobriety tests on an individual who is operating his vehicle through the stop. And at this time, we've made issued three arrests for individuals operating under the influence of alcohol or drugs. It started at 5 p.m. So in about an hour and a half, they've issued 3 summonses, and they're doing one test south of the bat, which is blood alcohol testing truck. And they're also testing another individual here north of the bat as well. So they're out here trying to keep the roadways safe, and we focus on the areas where we see more crashes, serious crashes and fatalities, in hopes of lowering the amount of individuals who pass away in motor vehicle accidents. So far this year, the traffic division has made 61 arrests for operating under the influence, not including any of the arrests tonight, as well as we have another checkpoint tomorrow night in area 100 Barber Street and Rovers on Saturday night. I think that's all I have, unless someone has questions.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Yeah, our traffic division takes impaired driving very seriously. Year in and year out, they lead the state in total DUI arrests. Lieutenant O'Brien's very proud of that, obviously, and they do a fantastic job in this city trying to keep the streets safe. I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Martin Cunningham. He is in charge of our special events division.
Good evening, everyone. As the captain said, Lieutenant Martin Cunningham, I'm in charge of special events. What that entails is scheduling, planning, staffing, and permitting events throughout the city. Obviously, with COVID, the last year has been a little bit tough. Not so much work for me, which is not a good thing for me or anyone else, but we have some light around the end of the corner here. Baseball is going to be back, as I'm sure you are aware. First home game, May 11th, all the way through September for the Yard Goats. Capacity is limited to start, but hopefully with some changes, according to our best guess, we'll be having maybe 25% to start, maybe 50, but hopefully by the end of the summer, we'll get back to a more normal and full stadium, which is what we want here. We also have the Hartford Athletic Soccer. That's going to start around the 1st of May. They kind of have a flexible schedule this year, depending on their needs of the league. But they're intending to play 32 games overall. That's 16 home games, and they go from roughly May 1st into October. They are planning to play. And last year, that was the first league in the country to play the league that the Athletic are in. pretty stringent requirements. They were able to do it last year, so we're looking forward to another year of soccer in Hartford, which is great news. We also have a lot of concerts in Hartford traditionally, down at the Xfinity at the Meadows. We're looking maybe July. There's stuff planned for now, but we will see if they go off or not, but they're tentatively scheduled, so that's the positive. The XL Center as well, the Wolfpack are playing. There's no fans yet, but the intent is to have some folks by the end of the season in the arena. And I know we're seeing that New Jersey and New York is having limited attendance already starting for games for the NBA. And so hopefully the NHL and the AHL for us here will be soon have some people inside the building. As I said, with the COVID, the permitted events have been down, but we are seeing some stuff coming through the city, and people are planning events, so that's kind of a positive. Looking into June and August specifically, we've had some tentative plans already, so that's a positive. And looking even farther ahead into October, the Hartford Marathon Foundation is planning on having the marathon this year. I know it was canceled last year, but it is planned this year to go off, maybe smaller scale, but they are anticipating having a marathon of some type, not a virtual one, an actual marathon with people running, which is great for us. It's probably the biggest one-day event we have for a department. So that's a really great thing to hear. And also, I kind of dabble with the bikes, with our bike unit for Captain Coates and the chief have made it a great effort, and they put the resources towards bringing bikes back out for the police officers. I know that the public likes seeing the officers on bicycles. I know the officers like being on bicycles. It kind of humanizes the officers, and when we can get back out there in the spring, you'll probably see some new bicycles and some nice new uniforms on people, and that's a credit to the chief and Captain Coates who've kind of spearheaded that. And that's all I really have for everyone right now.
Thanks, Lieutenant. Turn it back over to you, Chief.
Thanks, Captain Coates. So just a couple things, Lieutenant Cunningham. Special events was something that wasn't a real busy year for him this year. He took that role over in the spring and was ready to go, and we didn't really have a lot of special events. So just public credit to him. He's one of these folks that reached out and found things to do. So a lot of the things like making sure that our bike unit was up and running, making sure that the bikes were fixed and were greased up and ready to go. Buying new bikes is not something that is usually his job, but he stepped up to the plate and did that. He also helped out with a property room issue and some other things. So kudos to Lieutenant Cunningham for not just sitting by on the sidelines and watching COVID go by. Instead, he stepped up to the plate and helped the department out in many other ways, including some of our COVID efforts. And just real quick, Lieutenant O'Brien touched on it. We kind of kicked this off, I think, prior to COVID, so some people may be aware of it, but Lieutenant O'Brien referenced the traffic crash officers. So what we've tried to do is take some of the more complex things that our patrol division officers respond to and create some specialized officers to respond to those incidents. So traffic crash, they redid the form of probably quite a few years back now, from a relatively simple form to a massive undertaking. And it was having our patrol officers go out to these crashes and then have to sit behind a computer. They were not able to be done manually or in the cars. So they have to come back into the station or one of the substations to sit behind a computer for hours on end doing these reports. Some of these car accidents involve evading motor vehicles and require a follow-up. It's tough on a patrol officer that's answering calls for service every day as they come in 911 to do adequate follow-ups. So it increased the frustration for the community because they're trying to get these accident reports complete, accurate, thorough, for insurance purposes and other purposes, and it was a disaster. So we originally dedicated 4 officers to these crash units so they can go out and they can take these calls for service. We did that with domestic violence response as well for some of the same reasons, but also different reasons. Domestic violence is a real serious problem, not just here, but everywhere. And we wanted to put dedicated resources, if we could, answering those calls. We work very closely with Interval House. We have social workers embedded in the police department. We have a detective that's assigned to following up on domestic violence incidents. But the first line response, we wanted to be a specific response. For some of the same reasons as crash, there's a lot of paperwork involved, lethality assessments, domestic violence forms on arrests. There are specific rules that we follow regarding domestic violence. The policy for that is about 36 pages long. So some of the reasons we made these specialized units are so that we could get better, more specific training in these areas for the officers, have better follow-up by the officers, end up with a more thorough investigation and a better product. And it also works as like a stepping stone, something for officers, in an era where we're trying to retain our officers here. We do, like many other police departments, have problems with young officers leaving for other career paths or for other departments. So this was an opportunity to let some of our officers step out of that day-to-day answering calls for service and get a little bit more specialized. And this also can be used for them to step up into a more specialized unit someday, whether it be a detective division position in domestic violence, or whether it be, a full-time traffic officer or an accident reconstructionist someday in our crime scene division, which we'll hear from later. So I just, in addition to all of those things, this also frees up our patrol officers to answer calls for service in a more timely manner. We're trying to reduce our response times. So when people are calling us for issues in the community, we can get there quicker, and we don't have 4 or 5 officers, which on a busy rush hour day, we could easily have 4 or 5 officers sitting in the police department submitting or finishing up on those reports or following up on a domestic violence. So little difficult to assess its outcomes just yet. Captain Coates is putting some of that information together. Obviously, it's difficult to assess everything during a world of COVID, but we're hoping to figure out just how big of an impact. We know we're having an impact by having these specialized teams, but we want to see just how big of an impact. That little field trip, I'll give credit also to Captain Coates. That was his idea, and it was kind of cool. We got to get Lieutenant O'Brien to hold the camera a little bit steadier next time so we all don't vomit on this thing. But one of the benefits of this virtual world is we might be able to bring you into the seat of a cruiser a little more often than we did before. And even when we do in-person Compstat, we're going to try to find unique ways of using this technology to show folks out there how the police department operates in kind of a real-time fashion. We keep our fingers crossed that nothing crazy happens live. But thank you, Lieutenant O'Brien, for doing that. We'll get you a tripod or something next time. Next, Captain Russo, who is our captain in charge of our Investigative Services Bureau, so all of our detective divisions. Go ahead, Cap.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening. As the Chief said, my name is Jeff Russo. I'm the captain who oversees the Investigative Services Bureau, which is our detective bureau. We have an operational side, which includes the Vice Intelligence Narcotics Division. Under Intel, we have our C4, which is our Capital City Command Center. They work off-site, our operational division. And on the investigative side, we have our Major Crimes Division, Special Investigations Division, and Crime Scene Division, and they all work out of here at the headquarters at 253 High Street. The last year, as many other speakers have mentioned, certainly has been challenging for law enforcement, the Hartford PD, the city, the community, and also our detective bureau. The commitment and dedication of members of our detective bureau has been nothing short of amazing. Lots of long hours, sleepless nights. Our Vice Intelligence Narcotics Division put themselves in harm's way every day, dealing with the most violent offenders. Our Major Crimes Division, Special Investigations Division, and Crime Scene Division have worked hard to bring justice to our families who have been victimized. I'm very proud of the hard work and commitment to the mission. These guys go out there every day and they work hard, and they very rarely ask for vacation or days off. If anything, they just want to come here and work more after being here 40 hours a week. Some will work 60, 70, 80 hours, whatever it takes to help reduce the crime and help the community. So they definitely make me look good. One thing I wanted to talk about, switching gears here, is our non-fatal shooting team that we're creating that should be up and running here soon. It's going to be working out of our major crimes division. So if I could just speak briefly on that. Like most big cities across the country, Hartford in 2020 experienced an increase in shootings. In response to the increase in gun violence, the Hartford Police Department will be inserting additional investigative resources to the major crimes division. Now, of course, every shooting is investigated. Our homicide detectives solved 76% of the homicides in 2020. That's way above the national average, which is right around 62%. These additional resources will form a specialized team that will bolster our efforts in helping solve non-fatal shooting crimes. This new non-fatal shooting team will be focused on shooting incidents in which victims are struck by gunfire but survive their injuries. There will be an emphasis to solve cases at a higher rate and do it in a more rapid manner. If we can solve more of these cases and make arrests faster than before, we will be able to prevent some of the retaliatory and also back and forth shootings that tends to lead to additional violence. Solving a non-fatal shooting in June, for instance, with an arrest may just prevent that retaliatory homicide from occurring in July. Having a non-fatal shooting team that moves quickly to hold the shooters accountable also will send a strong message to the groups that are responsible for violence in the city. They may think twice about escalating the violence, knowing that their buddies are getting locked up and put in jail. Right now, as we form the team, we are working with our law enforcement colleagues in Denver, Colorado, who have displayed great success with their non-fatal shooting team. We are also working with researchers and looking at data to determine the best way to deploy the team. We have received support from the state's attorney's office in Hartford. We're very thankful for that. And our non-fatal shooting team will also be working with our partners on the state and federal levels. Last week, we just selected our supervisor who will lead this team out of the Major Crimes Division. Sergeant Michael Rykowski was selected. He comes to us from the Patrol Division. Prior to being promoted, he was a tenacious investigator when he was previously assigned to the division as a detective. His experience will be invaluable in leading this team. Sergeant Rykowski will report to the commander of the Major Crimes Division, Lieutenant Aaron Boisvert. Although not selected as of yet, the non-fatal shooting team will consist of a group of highly motivated detectives who have displayed great skill and abilities. They'll be asked to make significant sacrifices while serving as members of this team. We expect them to be working long hours, including nights, weekends, holidays, in order to fulfill the objectives of the team and the department. I look forward to working with the Major Crimes Division and this newly created non-fatal shooting team. I appreciate the chief and his efforts in helping us form this team and his support as we move forward here. This team will definitely work to make a significant impact on the gun violence and provide the citizens of Hartford with safe communities. Now I'd like to turn it over to the different divisions. As I mentioned before, we have a Major Crimes Division, we have a Special Investigations Division, Vice Intelligent Narcotics Division, and a Crime Scene Division. We will start first with the Major Crimes Division, and I will send it over to Lieutenant Aaron Boisvert.
Thank you, Captain. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Lieutenant Boisvert, I'm currently assigned to the commander of the Major Crimes Division. I'll begin with homicides. We had 0 for the week. We're currently at 3 homicides this year compared to 4 at this time last year, which is down 25%. We've made 1 arrest so far out of the 3 homicides this year, and we are very close to making an arrest on a second one. With the recent arrest for the Schultes Place homicide back in December by Detectives DiMatteo and Logan, that brings the number of homicides cleared for 2020 to 19 out of 25 homicides. As the captain mentioned, that's a 76% clearance rate. We're currently waiting on lab results confirmation on another homicide and expect that number to be 20, which will bring the percentage to 80%. So it's phenomenal work by our homicide detectives. Recent shootings for the week, we had 1 for the week. Lieutenant Reynolds brought it up. 464 Wethersfield Avenue. All information indicates that this was certainly a targeted attack. It's currently under investigation by Detective Maldonado. Detectives Parker and Logan did a great job in the investigation of the February 9th shooting at 450 Garden Street, where the victim was shot numerous times and was listed in critical condition. An arrest warrant was drafted and approved for 28-year-old Shaquille Brown, charging with assault first degree, criminal attempt to commit murder, and criminal possession of a firearm. He was picked up by the Hartford Police Fugitive Task Force yesterday, taken into custody without incident. He's currently being held on a $1 million judge set bond. Great job by Detective Parker and Logan. Also, Detective Lisnow just submitted an arrest warrant for the February 8th shooting at 24 Heath Street, which is currently awaiting judicial review. Detective Heselton made 2 firearms arrests in connection with the January 4th drive-by shooting at 454 Park Street. And he's also anticipating in multiple additional arrest warrants for that shooting. Currently, we're at 17 non-fatal shootings compared to 22 last year. That's down 75% for last week and down 26 from this time last year. We've currently made arrests in 4 of this year's shootings, and the detectives continue to work hard on these cases. Serious assaults, the city saw 13 for the week. That's down 6% from last year. 8 of those assaults resulted in arrests or warrants from the patrol division. 3 of those assaults involved a person being struck by a BB gun. And the BB gun incidents occurred at Hungerford and Capitol on the 14th, 915 Main Street on the 15th, and 1200 Park Street on the 16th. These cases have all been assigned to Detective Duarte, who has located a suspect vehicle on our C4 camera system, and has disseminated a flyer department-wide in an attempt to identify the vehicle. It's believed to be a black Infiniti. There have been no further BB gun assaults since. We also picked up a stabbing that occurred in an unknown location after the victim arrived at Hartford Hospital on the 20th. That case is being investigated by Detective Pethigal. Robberies, the city saw 2 for the week, which is down 44% from last year. We here at MCD picked up 1 of them. And it was a shoplifting that turned into a robbery from the Family Dollar up on Main Street in the north end, where an employee was pepper sprayed after he tried to stop a shoplifter. Detective Lisnow has that case. Burglaries, we had 3 for the week, down 29% from last year. None of those have been assigned to MCD due to the passage of time and lack of investigative leads with those specific 3. However, as Lieutenant Creeder brought up earlier, we had a break this week, which will result in the arrest of a series of pattern burglaries. Yesterday, Officer Pino and his PPO located the suspect in these burglaries from a flyer distributed by Detectives Flores and Cody. The suspect was identified in the burglaries that happened in the Trinity Market at 543 Zion Street on the 1st of January, the same location on the 14th of January, the Select Food Mart at 181 Franklin Avenue on January 17th, Victoria's Pizza at 168 Hillside Avenue on January 19th, and the DB Mart at 125 New Britain Avenue on the 25th. And also, the Dunkin' Donuts at 265 Washington Street on the February 6th. So the same individual has 6 burglaries that we have warrants coming down for. That's a great job by those guys. And last but not least, our overdose deaths, we had 3 last week, which brings us to a total of 13 for the year as compared to 14 at this time last year. That's what I have for MCD, Cap.
Great, thanks, Lieutenant. Solving 19 homicides, looks like you're gonna be 20 here soon out of 25. I mean, that's great work by the detectives in major crimes. All right, moving on to the Special Investigations Division, Lieutenant Stephen Zarger.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone that's attending. I'm Lieutenant Stephen Zarger. I'm the commander of the Special Investigative Division. Currently, things that we're targeting, we have 2 human trafficking cases that we're working on with the FBI Human Trafficking Task Force, as well as setting up future operations with them to target anybody that's looking to do harm to our youth in the confines of the city of Hartford, and also reaching out to other agencies to if there's a nexus that also spans outside of the city limits. For missing persons, so far for this year, we've been assigned 50 cases. Of those, only 14 of them remain open. And we take those very serious with trying to bring them all to good closures. And also the other thing that one of the other things my unit oversees is sex offenders in the city of Hartford. So currently we have a list of 612 sex offenders. Of those, 571 of them are active. We have 41 of them that are incarcerated with the DOC. Of those, 220 did Hartford offenses, where 392 were non-Hartford offenses. And we have 452 that are compliant and 119 that are non-compliant. And as of this week, we applied for 3 warrants for ones that were non-compliant. So the non-compliant ones, we work with the court systems, but if the numbers fluctuate a lot, because if the person was non-compliant, but then becomes compliant again while the warrant is being drafted and submitted, The courts normally won't sign off on those because the person is now currently compliant. Any of your questions, sir?
No questions, thank you. Now moving on to the Vice Intelligence and Narcotics Division. We'll start off with Lieutenant Pia, and then he'll be followed by Sergeant Mastriani. So Lieutenant Anthony Pia.
Good evening, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Thank you. As the captain said, my name is Lieutenant Anthony Pia, currently the commander of the Vice Intelligence and Narcotics Division, also known as the VIN Division. Under my command, we have the Violent Crime Unit, the Auto Theft Unit, Fugitive Task Force, and Narcotics as well. The purpose of all the units here in this division is to focus on the violent offenders in the attempts at reducing violence on the city streets and focusing our effort on the most violent, most dangerous subjects out there. I'd like to talk a little bit about the numbers of seizures so far for 2021 from the VIN Division. Currently, so far this year, roughly 15,000 bags of heroin have been recovered from the street, 1,500 grams of heroin raw, 230 grams of crack cocaine, over 1,000 grams of cocaine, 8 search warrants have been conducted, and 11 firearms have been seized off the street. As you see here on the screen, you should be seeing a picture of the 11 firearms that we recovered so far for this year and some of the narcotic seizures. The goal here obviously is to remove these illegal weapons from the street before they're used in any kind of violent crime. So far for 2021, I'm going to start out with some auto theft information. We started out the year running, so to speak, no pun intended. On January 1st of this year, early in the morning, our units spotted a vehicle that was carjacked in Bloomfield, Connecticut. It was a violent, strong-arm carjacking of an elderly woman. And for the first auto theft arrest of the year, these detectives and investigators were able to pursue these individuals on foot through Keeney Park and captured them after a foot pursuit. So far, auto theft arrests for the year, including tonight, they're currently conducting an operation today. So far today, 4 recovered stolen motor vehicles and 2 arrests have been made, bringing the total of 17 auto theft arrests for 2021 with 21 unoccupied stolen vehicles recovered. Continuing on the auto theft side to work with our courts and the intelligence side of the house to identify the most prolific car thieves. Obviously, we can make a million auto theft arrests, but as long as we're arresting the right people and preventing them from continuing this kind of behavior is the goal. We're hoping for firm prosecution of these repeat offenders. As we know, a small portion of these offenders are responsible for the majority of the auto thefts. Currently, today, we have a Rocky Hill police officer that's assisting us, who is here to kind of learn on how we do it, as the suburban towns around us are starting to understand that they are, well, not the police departments, but the auto theft problem is directly related to the suburban towns that surround us, as the majority of our stolen vehicles recovered in the city are stolen from surrounding towns. So there is some buy-in from area police departments, and they are assisting us in learning how we handle ourselves here. Moving on to our violent crime unit, they're actively investigating numerous shots fired incidents, and they are working all avenues to identify individuals involved in violent crime. And they also work with our federal partners to adopt these cases on a federal level when that time comes. So far this year, out of the Violent Crimes Unit, just to highlight a couple of their notable arrests, they arrest an individual on Alden Street with a .40 caliber Glock with an extended magazine. That firearm was stolen out of Virginia, and that individual had some firearm history as well. 286 Homestead Avenue, which is the Buggy Bath Car Wash. There was an arrest there of an individual who was in possession of a .45 caliber Taurus firearm, which was stolen out of New Haven. That individual in particular had an extensive violent criminal history, including being arrested for shooting at someone in 2015 and a shots fired incident in 2012. I'm sorry, shooting at someone in 2012 and shooting someone in 2015. That individual was back out on the street and subsequently arrested with that firearm. He was also on parole, and his parole was subsequently violated. So just to give an example of how we're focusing on the violent offenders. Continuing on to our fugitive task force, which was mentioned by a couple of the other lieutenants, that they're absolutely wonderful at catching these individuals when we need them to. So far this year, for 2021, 15 warrants have already been served by our fugitive task force, several for shooting incidents, several for homicides. Some of those occurred outside of Hartford, but were captured in Hartford, several sexual assaults, and 8 other warrants that were related to violent offenses. Talk a little bit about our narcotics divisions, had a busy year so far. Just to run down a couple locations. Again, the goal is to focus our resources on areas that are seeing violence, obviously continued violence or spikes in violence, the attempt to gain information as well as address these violent offenders. Couple examples, search warrant was conducted on Kent Street. A substantial amount of fentanyl was recovered from there and a .22 caliber revolver. Clifford Street with an assisted case with our federal partners, a .40 caliber Glock with a 100-round magazine, which you might have seen in the picture there, 13,000 bags of fentanyl, over 1,000 grams of cocaine, marijuana, cutting agents, and if you see in the back of that photo, there's a bulletproof vest there. That suspect was also a suspect in other violent incidents in the city, and that case is being evaluated at the federal level. Franklin Avenue, a couple weeks ago, we assisted Yonkers, New York police. They had a murder suspect out of Yonkers. That was a drug-related murder. The suspect was hiding in our city. It was a collaborative effort between the U.S. Marshals, FBI, Yonkers Police Department, and Hartford Police. Inside an apartment on Franklin Avenue, the suspect was located with some narcotics and was arrested for the murder, as well as in possession of a 9mm handgun that was used in the murder. Bedford Street area, we did a couple operations and search warrants there. Many arrests, large amounts of narcotics were recovered. And then just a couple other ones that I'd like to cover before I finish up. Congress Street, we conducted a investigation there after a recent homicide that had occurred over there. We identified an individual involved in the illegal drug trade and was known to be violent. A search warrant was conducted in the area, which resulted in over 200 grams of fentanyl, 400 bags of packages fentanyl, and a .357 handgun. It should be noted that the suspect arrested in that incident was also on parole for a murder that he committed in 1995 and was released from prison only a few years ago. Again, he was another violent individual whose parole was remanded as well on top of our arrest. Moving on to 2 very recent locations that have seen an increase in violence. 1994 Main Street was an operation that we conducted last week. The area in 1994 Main Street, we conducted an operation in that area targeting known violent offenders. Numerous arrests were made. Substantial amounts of narcotics were recovered in the area, but one in particular, an individual was spotted. It's known to the investigators as being involved in the violence and the illegal drug trade in the area. He was subsequently arrested after a foot chase with a 9mm handgun. What's notable about this incident is that individual had been arrested in 2004 for a robbery first. 2008 was charged with an illegal possession of a firearm. In 2014 was charged with illegal possession of a firearm. This is now his 3rd gun arrest. So hopefully we can keep him off the street for a little while and not increasing the violence in that area. And then the last thing I have on my list is an operation that we conducted this week, Wethersfield Avenue area. I know Wethersfield Avenue has been mentioned a few times. We've had some incidents there. There was actually a 2-fold operation that we conducted. There was both a street operation and several search warrants. There was actually 3 search warrants that were conducted in that area, again, targeting these violent individuals, which we mentioned that are involved in the illegal drug trade as well. During that operation, 2 handguns were recovered, a 9mm Ghost gun, which is a firearm that basically has no trackable serial number on it, which had an extended magazine, and a .22 caliber Taurus firearm, which actually you'd see at the top right of your picture there, where it says Wethersfield Avenue at Elliott. What's interesting about these cases is the 2 individuals who were arrested with these guns also have substantial history. One individual was arrested with a gun in 2016 and 2 arrests where he actually fired a firearm. The other individual, it's his 2nd firearm arrest, and he had 2 previous robbery arrests. During the Wethersfield Avenue operation and search warrants. Subsequently, I mentioned the 2 handguns, but we also recovered 2 stolen motor vehicles, over 60 grams of fentanyl, which is roughly 25, which would fill roughly 2,500 bags of fentanyl, 180 grams of crack cocaine, and 993 packaged bags of fentanyl. These are just a few of many positive things that these investigators are doing on a daily basis to reduce, obviously, gun violence and increase the safety of our streets while also addressing the illegal drug trade that is occurring. That's all I have to present now, Captain, unless anyone has any questions for me currently.
No questions, Lieutenant Pia. Thank you very much. Great work by your team. Why don't we hand it off to Sergeant Christopher Mastriani, which he will cover the Intelligence Division and the C4, which is the Capital City Command Center.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sergeant Chris Mastriani. I'm supervisor of our intelligence unit, which includes our real-time crime center, or C4, as a lot of people know it. This division here is made up of, I have 6 sworn police officers, 5 civilian analysts. I have a Department of Corrections intel analyst, and I have an Army counter-narcotics analyst. So we have a pretty good mixture here of sworn, civilian, even Department of Corrections, and even the military here. Getting into how we track our numbers. This is how I track our numbers here. This is our year-to-date 664 requests for service by our civilian analysts. These are basically requests that come in from the patrol division or any investigator looking for an assistance in video, cell phone extractions, forensics, social media lookups, anything like that. So we track them here by offense, by category, by agency, by day of week, you name it. Last year, you can see in the upper right there, 2020, we hit almost 6,000 requests for service for 300 something days. So it's a busy little center here with our civilians. They do a great job. Cameras, everyone always likes that. They want to know about cameras. We're at about 883 camera locations with over 1,000 camera views. And then the other question everybody wants is where are they coming next? So here's kind of some future plans that I'm working on right now. Upper Weathersfield looks a little confusing, but basically the green circles there is our camera locations that we're working on right now. We're going pretty aggressive with Upper Weathersfield Ave. It's been a huge quality of life issues there for years since I've been a cop here. So we're going pretty aggressive on that street, kind of like we did with Park Street. On the lower right there, you see Upper Albany Ave, which has been a weak spot for us for a while with cameras. There's some proposed locations there: Kent Street, Adams Street, Woodland Street, Edgewood Street. And we already have Baltimore Street, Blue Hills Ave, Garden Center, and Vine. So Albany Ave, that's actually happening really quick. I already have the cameras for it. They're pulling fiber down the street as we speak. So that's pretty exciting. There's going to be a lot of helpful coverage there. What do we do with these cameras? The next slide. This is kind of what we do on a daily basis. We capture vehicles. Every car in this slide here was part of shots fired calls that we've captured on video, whether license plates or no license plates, individuals. So this is something we're doing daily, weekly here with these cameras, just catching violent criminal acts and creating tons of solvability around those acts, with the hope that if we can create solvability, we can put the shooters in jail and we can drive down the shooting numbers in the city. So it's been really effective, and I'm excited because it's going to get even better. Another thing we did in here, 2020, is we started some juvenile intelligence surrounded by students involved in violent crimes. There was kind of an uptick with violent crimes around the schools, whether on school grounds or in the schools. So we dedicated an officer in here, 2 officers, to just look at students or juveniles involved in violent crimes only. We're not just watching students or juveniles, but trying to create an intelligence around those that are involved in violent crimes, most notably guns. And it was kind of highlighted at the end of last year with this arrest here. There was a student at New Vision's school at Greenfield Street who was bragging on the internet and posting videos of himself with a gun inside the school, walking down the hallways in the bathroom. My officers intercepted that, acted on it. We had created a relationship with Hartford Public School Security. We were able to find out what school he was in. We walked into that school and took him out with a loaded .45 1911 on him. So that was just a great success story for them. They could have stop something really tragic from happening to us in a school. Something else we did here is we ran a gun buyback every year. A little bit more difficult this year with COVID, but we actually did hold one at the Willie Ware Center. We had a smaller turnout than usual, but it was worth it because we actually got 5 assault weapons, fully automatic assault weapons in that buyback. You can see them in the picture there. There's actually 3 fully automatic assault rifles and then a fully automatic handgun there. So that was a really good success. That was just citizens walking up off the street and handing us those guns, essentially for not a ton of money, but they did get a gift card to Stop and Shop. Project Longevity is another program that we run out of the Intelligence Center. For those of you who don't know, Project Longevity is an outreach program where we really try to get into the living rooms of some of these violent offenders in the city. We go to their house, we visit them with social services coordinators. We offer them help, different opportunities, things they can do with their life. But with that offering is also a strong message of, hey, if you continue to engage in gun violence, you will be a target of law enforcement. Last year with the COVID, we had to cease kind of our in-home visits for a while, but we did end the year with 70 in-home custom notifications, we call them. And the goal for 2021 is to do 10 a week, which we are doing right now very successfully. Other than that, on top of that, we did do a lot with the pop-up parties, the protests. We had almost 200 protests in the city last year. We built a really good relationship with the court where we're sending them intelligence, and some of these guys that are locked up with guns, like Lieutenant Pete was saying, if it's his 3rd, 4th gun arrest, can we get some deeper consideration from the courts? And one of the last things we do, which is actually a really popular one, is illegal dumping. We have a couple cameras that are dedicated just to illegal dumping. We move them around the city. We work with an officer in the city, Officer Tom Knapp, who that's his main assignment. Working hand in hand with him, I know he's put out a lot of illegal dumping summonses, and the court has actually ordered some restitution back to the city for the cost of the cleanup for that. So that's about it. Shot spotters and other things some people ask. We did add some sensors throughout the city to improve our coverage. Some most recent cameras we added was Capitol and Broad and Russ, Weathersfield and Elliott, Maine and Windsor. And we have Hooster and Pavilion and Homestead and Sigourney coming right around the corner. So it's getting really exciting for me. I'm kind of nerd on it, but we have a lot of additional cameras coming. The city's really helped us. The city's pushing high-speed internet, Wi-Fi through the whole north end and south end. They're starting with the north end now. So there's a lot of network capabilities out there for us from a technology standpoint. That's it for me, Cap.
We definitely utilize our technology resources to prevent crime, solve crime, and try to help keep the communities as safe as possible. Thank you, Sergeant Mastriani. And next we have the crime scene division. Our crime scene division is led by Sergeant Jeremy Ball.
Good evening, everybody. As the captain said, my name is Jeremy Ball. I'm supervisor here in the crime scene division. For those of you who aren't familiar with the crime scene division, we work in support of and in conjunction with the other detective divisions in the Investigative Services Bureau, as well as with the Community Services Bureau and in patrol. My detectives' duties include processing of major crime scenes, including photography, digital laser scanning, documentation, evidence collection, preservation, submission for analysis, DNA recovery, latent print processing. It's about all the CSI stuff you kind of see on TV. We also do processing of recovered firearms, including latent print processing, DNA processing, and test firing for ballistic analysis, which is something we just started up with in the conjunction with the state lab. One of the major things that we do in the crime scene division is the investigation of fatal accidents. Last year we had 17 fatal accidents, and of those, 7 of the cases have been completely closed as of now. 8 of them will be closed. We're just waiting for supplemental materials, and we only have 2 open and active investigations for last year. I'm anticipating within the next couple months that 16 of the 17 accidents we investigated last year will be completely closed, either by arrest or by other circumstances. This year, so far for 2021, you have 2 fatal crashes with a total of 3 fatalities. This is 1 crash higher than what we had last year and 2 fatalities higher than we had last year at this time. Both of those crashes are still under active investigation, and things are coming along with both of them. One of them, there's going to definitely be arrests made, and the second one is still under interview stage, and I expect resolution on both of those very shortly from my detectives. My detectives are very highly trained. We're probably one of the most experienced divisions in the department as far as number of years and training that our guys have. I'm very proud of my guys. I have 2 detectives that are going for training for NIBIN, which is the National Integrated Ballistic Information Network entry next week with the state lab and the ATF. With that, we'll enhance other divisions, including VIN and the non-fatal shooting task force that was just set up as well. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant Ball. That concludes the presentation for the Investigative Services Bureau. So I'll throw it back over to you, Chief.
Great job, everybody. Thank you. So next on the agenda, I will invite our esteemed guests, Assistant U.S. Attorney Karen Peck and Christopher McKee.
Can you hear me, Chief?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. I just want to introduce myself first. I'm Karen Peck. I am an Assistant U.S. Attorney and have recently been designated as the Chief of the Violent Crime and Narcotics Unit here at the U.S. Attorney's Office. So I look forward to meeting several of you and working closely with you to try to address, in particular, the issues with violent crime and narcotics that are affecting the greater Hartford area. I've had a lot of discussions recently with the assistants in the office in Hartford, and it sounds like there is a lot of coordination and a lot of work that goes on between the U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI, the DEA, and the Hartford Police Department. As I understand it, there are 3 different task forces that the Hartford Police Department participates in with federal authorities, and that those seem to be working productively and well. I also am aware of various Project Safe Neighborhoods, Project Longevity, the various endeavors that we have where we try to address with state and local authorities the various issues, recurring issues involving violence and violent offenders who are reentering the community. And we remain very committed to that. And in fact, I understand that there was recently word that a substantial grant has been designated for the Hartford Police Department for funds to address some specific investigative resource needs. And I hope those will make a difference and help you in your mission. We also have been working closely and are developing a good working relationship with the State's Attorney's Office in Hartford. And we have 2 assistant state's attorneys that are cross-designated to work on federal cases alongside us. So my primary reason for being here is to introduce myself, to offer up my name, and so that you know who you can call when you have issues or you have needs that the U.S. Attorney's Office and our federal investigative partners can meet. And I congratulate you on the great work. Some of those gun and fentanyl seizures were particularly heartening to see. It was very impressive work that's being done. So thank you for including me. And it's very good to meet each one of you. And I look forward to working with you in the coming months.
Thank you. My name is Chris McKee. If I could just add, I am the law enforcement coordinator. We'll be working and assisting in all our efforts, between U.S. Attorney's Office, federal law enforcement, and the Hartford Police. Just to add what Chief Peck has said, the community of Hartford should be particularly proud of this grant award that just went out to Hartford PD. It was a very competitive process. It was a statewide process, and the fact that the Hartford Police Department is acquiring over $55,000 to combat violence, the fact that they pursued this as assertively as they did and presented an incredible package and proposal, something the community should certainly be proud of, that their police department is out there working hard to turn over every stone to help increase public safety in the community. And the only other thing, if I may add to Chief Peck's comments, is you heard Sergeant Mastriani and the chief talk about Project Longevity. I think it's important to know, and if you're a community member in Hartford, that Certainly, there's a lot of enforcement and investigative work that is done in collaboration and partnership between our organizations. But you've heard the term community engagement and community service officer be repeated throughout the course of this evening. And I just want to bring the point that not all of our work is solely enforcement based. You know, we've had the great opportunity to partner with Hartford Police and other city agencies and non-city providers for faith-based initiatives such as Faith in the Blue, which occurred in the North End, particular church in the North End of Hartford last October. We're looking forward at the U.S. Attorney's Office to participating again with Deputy Chief Watson and her staff for that event coming up in 2021, as well as some other faith-based events that are being scheduled through the community service officers. So thank you very much, Chief, and everyone for having us in.
Thank you both. We're excited. We just got notification of the Project Safe Neighborhood grant award today, and it looks like our Planning and Accreditation Division, in conjunction with some of our folks at VIN, did a very thorough submission, and that was recognized. So we always thank everybody for that kind of support. You know, it definitely goes a long way to help the officers and detectives here do their job. And we appreciate the partnership with the U.S. Attorney's Office. It's been they've got some changes coming there down the road soon, but all for positive things. I think some of our attorneys are going to be future judges, which is great. I just hopefully can ask somebody that they come here. We want to see them as judges up our way. I don't think I have that kind of pull, but if I did, we would certainly request to have them here. But also important to note that Chris McKee is not just here for public Compstat. He actually joins us on all of our Compstats, which keeps him connected to the department, keeps us connected to the U.S. Attorney's Office. So I thank him for his dedication. He's here all the time, a great resource for us. So with that said, I think we're pretty much right on time here for a 7 o'clock closure. I will open it to first to Assistant Chief Howell if he has any closing remarks. No pressure. I just want to make sure I give the assistant chiefs and the deputy chiefs a chance to say anything if they wanted to.
Yes, thank you, Chief. I'd like to thank everyone for participating in the Compstat, especially the community. And as far as the department members, I think you guys have done an awesome job. And I think the community should be proud of the work that you've done. So I thank you all, and I wish you all have a good night.
Better than New Haven, right, Chief?
No comment.
Put you on the spot there. Deputy Chief Watson. So Assistant Chief Medina is not here with us today because he is in a training program at the University of Louisville for a chief's level training. It was a great opportunity for him. We got a grant scholarship to send him out to that training. So he is probably sitting in a dorm room somewhere at the University of Louisville, typing away at a paper that's probably due tomorrow. Deputy Chief Watson is our acting Chief of Operations. So I'll just turn it to the Deputy Chief Watson if you've got anything to say.
Well, good evening, everyone. Is that me? I have to turn my volume down. Okay. Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Chief. On behalf of Chief Medina, I'd just like to say thank you, everyone. Please keep up the good work. We're proud of you. On behalf of myself, I guess I'd like to say as the weather changes, I'll be able to participate more frequently. And thank you, Chris. As you say, I will participate more so in community engagements as the weather changes. And I guess that's all I've got to say.
Great. Thank you. And I think we have Deputy Chief Rendock. You got anything, Chief?
Thank you, Chief. I'd just like to say good evening. And I've got a call into Al Roker to give Lieutenant O'Brien some assistance on his street video.
Thanks, Chief. He was. This is the reason he's a police officer. Stand-up comedy didn't work out. So thanks everybody for participating. Thanks to all of our staff here at the PD for putting this together. Some great visuals to try to make some of these Zoom meetings that can be otherwise pretty mundane, a little more interesting. We'll try to do some more field trips in the future. I think everybody will enjoy that. Thanks for our partners and for the community for being a part of our first COVID public Compstat. This will continue back on its regular schedule of every third Thursday of the month at 5:30. We just did this one today because due to technology reasons, we weren't ready last week. So we threw it off by having it on the 4th. But public Compstat will continue every third Thursday of the month at 5:30 in the evening. So thanks to everyone and have a good, safe night.